So good morning, everybody. So I am very happy to note that the Institution Innovation Council of Pragati Engineering College is organizing a webinar on intellectual property rights, key for academic excellence, under Impact Lecture Session 2 by Institution Innovation Council of Pragati Engineering College. So this Institution Innovation Council, they were under the leadership of our Director, Dr. H.Purushotham Garu, and coordinators, Dr. Subodh Panda and Dr. R. Dharmalingam. They are conducting various lectures as a part of this. They are organizing this lecture. So for this lecture, one of the eminent professors in Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, Dr. H.Purushotham Garu from Ministry of Commerce and Industry, IPR Chair Professor, Andhra University. So he is the resource person. Sir, thank you, sir. Thank you for accepting our invitation. So we profusely thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge to our students, sir. So as you all know, the latest national education policy is also emphasizing on research-based education. So the outcome of this research, that is in the form of patents or trademarks or copyrights related to the publications or products that are being developed. So about those things, Sir Purushotham sir will enlighten us. So I thank all the organizers for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Are you able to see me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
But,
yes, sir.
I have to close my camera. Okay. But the thing is, not able to close. Not get to close. Not able to hear anything from you on the other side.
Sir, are we audible, sir?
I close my camera.
Yeah, you are audible.
Sir, no, sir. Resource person, I think resource person, sir, Purushotham sir is not able to hear us, sir.
Yes, so yeah, Subodh Panda sir is talking to him. Just
Okay,
be
sir,
insisting him to close his camera. I think he is having network issues.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, I closed my camera.
Yes, sir. Now
are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
okay.
Sir.
So now are we audible, sir?
Yeah, slightly better.
Shravan, you can proceed.
Sir, we profusely thank you for accepting our invitation, for sharing your wealth of knowledge to our students, sir.
Voice is very weak. Voice is very weak.
Sir, we are able to listen to you, sir.
Not very much. Can you increase your voice? I don't know how can you increase your voice?
Sir, I think problem in your side, sir. I think poor network connectivity, sir.
So we are able to hear you, sir.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. Whatever we could do. That's all.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Naresh, sir. Now, I would like to introduce our resource person, Dr. Hanumantu Purushotham, sir. Sir is currently serving as DPIIT Ministry of Commerce and Industry, IPR Chair Professor at Andhra University, Visakhapatnam. He was the Chairman and Managing Director, National Research Development Corporation, and Central Public Sector Undertaken, and served as Director General of Consultancy Development Central. Both are under the Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India. Sir obtained his BTech degree in Chemical Engineering from Andhra University, Visakhapatnam in the year 1982, MTech from IIT Kharagpur, MBA from IGNOU, and PhD from Osmania University. Sir was trained at Venture Capital Institution, Washington, USA, on venture capital funding, National Incubation Association in USA, setting up of technology business incubations, and NDI on how to engage and use constituencies. Under his leadership, NRDC got the Best PSU award from Governance Now for bringing financial turnaround, and he was awarded as CEO of the Year 2017. Sir authored and co-authored 65 project reports, 5 book chapters, 1 book published, and presented 100 research papers in various journals. Sir, the stage is open for you, sir. So please.
Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir, we are able to hear you, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So,
Sir, proceed, sir.
Sir, you can start, sir.
sir, hello, sir.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir,
you're
yes, sir.
audible,
Hello.
sir.
Hello, sir, you're audible, sir. Sir, please turn on the mic, sir.
Sir, you're muted, sir.
Sir, your mic has been muted, sir.
Yeah, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. Now you're audible, sir.
Okay, sir.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Sir, you're audible, sir. Please close your mics. Sorry, camera, sir.
Hello.
Sir, you're audible, sir.
Yeah, but what
Sir,
is
you're
happening
audible,
is
sir.
that you have been dismissed from the meeting. It is coming. I don't know, again and again.
Okay, we move, sir.
Sir, please close your camera and open your PPT, sir. Share your screen.
What is that I have to do?
Please close your camera, sir.
And open the PPT.
Open.
Sir, I think someone are removing the resource person, sir.
Participants, you do not remove resource person from the meeting. I think some students are removing him. Please don't remove resource person from the meeting.
Saying that you have been removed from the meeting, it is saying.
Sir, no, not the.
Sir, yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir. And we could see your screen as well, sir.
Sir, you have been muted, sir.
It is showing here you have been removed from this meeting. Hello.
Yes, yes. Now you can proceed,
Yes,
sir.
sir, yes, sir.
Now, okay, sir, move.
Putting me in mute and it is saying that it is automatically putting me in again and again without.
Participants are requested to do not make mute for resource person.
Hello, participant, please support.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Are you able to see my screen? Are you able to see my screen?
So now, no, sir. Till now, not.
No, sir.
And what to do? Give control or presenting. It is putting me in mute and again and is going on. No. Mic is on, but are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I could see your screen, sir.
See my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay. My screen is visible.
Yes, sir. It's visible, sir.
Okay, then let me start then my presentation. Okay, I would like to thank the Pragati Engineering College management and Dr. Subodh Panda for giving me this opportunity to share some of my perspectives on IPR is key for academic excellence. You know, why it is important is that if you look at in the past, the university's main mandate or the higher education institution's main mandate is to produce students with excellent educational skills or educational knowledge, and less importance for research and knowledge dissemination. I think in some of the private engineering colleges, still the same trend continues. Production of quality engineers is the main objective, not much focus on research, not much focus on knowledge dissemination. But the current trend as per the policy and the current trend, if you want it to be sustainable, competitive in the market, today there is a paradigm shift in the mandate and focus of these higher education institutions. So what is the prime focus for the higher education institutions today? Today, resource mobilization is the most important criteria for the performance of the organization. How much of your budget, you are able to manage from external resources. So that is one of the most important criteria to say that the academic institute is successful. So how can you mobilize resources? You as an academic institute, apart from admitting students, uh, the next best option available with the higher education institutions is that they need to spend more time, more resources with their expertise, in research and development. So research and development is very, very important. Once you have a proper research and development wing and motivate faculties, research scholars to carry out research and development activities, they will lead to creation of new knowledge, new technologies, new devices, new formulations, the new knowledge creation is very, very important. Once you have that new knowledge, so that new knowledge, if it fulfills the criteria for securing intellectual property rights, one can apply intellectual property rights and get the rights conferred on the inventors or the academic institute which supported funding such kind of a development. So once you have a IP created, IP protected, that is a big resource for the higher education institutions or the universities. How they can sell this knowledge, they can transfer this knowledge to studies or even big companies in India and abroad. So they bring the industry academia collaboration. If you have a new knowledge for new technologies, industry always, looking for such kind of innovations. So we need to focus more on research and development, bringing in new innovations, which we can license it, we can transfer it, we can sell it to the industry. So industry also comes to our campus for further development, further sponsoring the research, and ultimately transfer of that IP, what we have created. That is what we also call technology transfer. And in that, we have got a new IPs generated, which are competitive in nature, which are innovative in nature. Even the students themselves can pursue entrepreneurship as a career by taking those intellectual property rights what you created in the university. So ultimately, the total scenario, if you look at it, that universities or higher education institutions have to be entrepreneurial in nature. That is what is most important. If the academic institutions have to sustain, to be competitive, they have to transform into a entrepreneurial universities. Earlier, we are only education institutions, but now the academic institute's performance is gauged or measured in terms of the and development activities the university or the higher education institute is taking, the kind of new knowledge they are creating, the kind of new knowledge for which, which they have created, they're getting the IP rights protected, and how they are transferring that knowledge to industry, which brings resources to the institutions. This is the trend. Even the same thing is being very much articulated in the new education policy also. Now, earlier, the institutions used to sustain in a single discipline like a management college. But now the new education policy says there should be MERUs. MERUs means multidisciplinary education and research universities. They cannot sustain, they cannot continue as a single discipline institutions in the future. In the next 5 to 10 years, they all should emerge as a MERUs. That is the focus, So unless we adapt ourselves, unless we have, to create such kind of ecosystem in the universities, we are not going to survive. So this is the current shift or the paradigm shift in the education policy as a whole. So coming to intellectual property rights, it is all very important for all of us to understand what is the definition of an intellectual property. There is an organization, there is a UN organization called WIPO, World Intellectual Property, wherein more than 175 countries are members. The intellectuals, all of them put together, they define, the terminology, the policy, the growth, the strategies, to promote intellectual property right in respective countries. So what the WIPO has said is about intellectual property is that intellectual property means or refers to the creations of the mind. Whatever the mind creates, there are forms a part of the intellectual property. So that in all our educational systems, we try to empower the mind, we try to develop the mind. So the mind should be able to think in a, out of the box, creatively, curiosity. All these things are functions of the mind. So that is why our education system, either in the old education system or in the current new education policy, always the focus of government is to empower the human minds, to create that kind of a power in the human mind so that they will be able to develop solutions to the problems what the society is facing. So the creations of the mind, such as inventions, which comes out of a research and development, the literary and artistic works like books, artistic works, the music, cinematography, all these things forms part of this literary and artistic works. The designs, the symbols, the names, images used in commerce are all forms a part of the intellectual property. So that is what the definition of a World Intellectual Property Organization has given. What do you mean by intellectual property means? They're all creations of the mind. So how do we generate the new knowledge? Always we can generate new knowledge by undertaking a research. That research function has to be strengthened in our educational systems. As I told you, we are very good at producing as students with a good knowledge in their subject, but not much research. IITs and other premier institutions are much ahead of other institutions because they focus by undertaking research only. Whatever theory we have learned, you are able to implement and try to solve the problem. So that is why research is the mother or the backbone for any society as a whole. So if you want to come out with intellectual property, what you need to do is you need to identify the societal problems. So how do you identify the societal problems? Unless you know that kind of culture, the problems the society is facing, and formulating a problem is, for example, there is a groundwater contamination of village or in our district. That is a problem prevailing for quite some time. So as a researcher, we should be able to think how I can solve this problem. You need to do a research, you need to carry out a literacy survey and understand what exactly the solutions have been proposed so far, whether any of those solutions already developed or proposed, whether can solve this problem, and whether you can come out, with a better solution than what is existing. That is how the innovation takes place. Innovation is nothing but is an improvement over the existing knowledge or existing technologies. So that is how, as an individual, if you have got that creativity, if you have got that kind of a passion and out of box thinking abilities, problem solving nature, then you will be able to analyze the existing knowledge and formulate a proposal to come out with a better technology than what is existing. So you have formulated a problem, for example, to solve the water problem and the contamination of water in that area. How can you solve in a most cost-effective, simple manner? So you developed some kind of a technique, for example, So when you developed a new knowledge over the existing knowledge, which solve this problem, then it qualifies for a registering for an intellectual property. Say, for example, as I told you, inventions, there are research and development outcomes are nothing but inventions, So it may qualify for filing a patent. Patent is one kind of a intellectual property, So there is a criteria to see whether your invention qualifies for getting a patent or not. What is that criteria? The technology or the solution what you have developed, should be novel, and it should have industrial application, and there should be inventive step in that invention. So these are the three parameters the invention should meet to get a patent rights, So as a researcher, if you have got the ability, experience, and skills to analyze your research outcome with reference to these three parameters, you yourself can satisfy, yes, this can go for a protection under Patent Act. There are different acts for different types of IPRs. So since we are talking about patents, so once it fulfills these three criteria, that you can do yourself, or you can also approach people who have got expertise in undertaking such kind of a patentability search and analysis. So now most of the higher education institutions establish the IPR cells with the qualified people, so they can help you in doing that assessment. Or you can also reach out to any patent agent, in our country. They also will be able to help you to assess whether your research outcome is meeting these three criteria of novelty, inventive step, and industrial use. Once they decide that, yes, it is meeting, one can file an application in the Indian Patent Office. Again, the Patent Office, there is a systematic process. There are forms, there is a fees, if you pay the fees and if you fill the forms and submit it, and there is a systematic process. We can also see what is that process. So once you submit your application to the Patent Office, through your patent agent or yourself, that process continues. It takes some time, maybe 2 to 3 years, to get your patent granted or get your patent rejected. But what is important is that filing your patent application is very, very important in the Patent Office. The moment, the day on which invention is protected, from that day onwards, So once that is done, you can start, marketing that invention to various stakeholders like startups or existing companies or big companies and small or big, in India and outside, So once that is what we call a marketing of this invention to various stakeholders who may like to buy your invention or get licensed to use your invention. So once the patent application is filed, we should do that, Before filing a patent, you should not reveal this technology to anyone. Why? Because when you submit a patent application, what they will do for doing the assessment of the novelty, how they assess the novelty, they will search all the published knowledge across the globe, whether similar kind of knowledge, the same knowledge, whether it is in use or not, whether anyone has published or whether anyone has got a patent on it, if there is a similar kind of knowledge has already been patented, or someone has published a research paper in a referred journal or peer-reviewed journal, or somebody, exhibited this product or service in some conferences or exhibitions. So that is how the novelty will be assessed by the patent examiner. If he finds, your own article or your own invention already published, it goes against you. And the examiner says that your own article has already been input into use or already been published. So all the researchers and faculty members should always remember it should fully exploited or fully not developed. Still some more work needs to be done to find out still your research, and you need to a necessity arise, talk public or talk to the government or talk to anyone about your invention, file at least a provisional application that gives you protection for your idea, protection for your knowledge. So within 1 year of filing a provisional application, one can go for a complete specification. So the most important thing you to remember is that unless you submit your complete specification, the patent office will not examine your application to see whether it is patent can be granted or not. So once you submit a provisional application, within 12 months, you can submit a complete specification, including the benefits of your research. That's what we call them as a claims. So claims are the most important things in the patent application for which we are seeking a protection. So once that is done and you did a market a propagation or a market awareness you have created for technology, so many people may come forward, on this technology. Recently, Andhra University has developed a department. Professor Aparanji has developed a technology for a nanotechnology based a device for detecting diabetic patients, particularly in type 2 in a very early stage at much lower concentrations. So we and got it published. Then we started marketing it, and some startup company came forward saying that we would like to explore this technology, please license this technology to us. We signed the licensing agreement, transferred it, and demonstrated gave the sample prototype, a commercial plant. Of course, there also
Sir, your voice is not audible, sir. I think poor network connection, sir.
is done. If you found out, an interested party or a startup company to take license or to buy the technology from you, so you negotiate the terms and conditions, for licensing it. How much money you should charge as a licensing fee? What is the royalty? What is of the license? The rejection, through the license. There is a large number of conditions signed after receiving the technology transfer fee, and you state your know-how package. So based on that know-how package, and the by once DPR, what is the investment required? We establish a minimum variable capacity commercial plant, and there is the kind of money may be raised from the banks or loans or equity, debt. There are so many methods of raising funds. Once you raise that funds, establish a commercial plant, then the technology developer also, the transferor also comes to your commercial plant, helps you in re-standardizing the process parameters, what have been established in the laboratory scale. The same conditions you may not be able to get in the commercial scale because the size of the reactors, the size of the plant, they're all scaled up. For example, if you got a product, A plus B gives rise to C, when you conducted this experiment in the laboratory, you might have got this product in 2 hours. But when you scale up, you may not product at the commercial scale. Definitely at that point of time also, the technology transfer, the agency or the faculty members who develop this technology, their help is also required for implementing this technology at commercial scales. Once it is fully transferred and the entrepreneur is comfortable, satisfied, and acquired all the skills to produce the product at a commercial scale, then we say that the technology transfer is complete. Then thereafter he produces and sells the product in the market, and on that sales we also get royalty. No, every piece of product he sells, on that generally 3 to 5% generally the technology transferring institute gets as a royalty, recurring royalty during the tenure of the so that research is a successful research. Otherwise, you do research, you are not able to it is of a not much use. You might have created some human resources. And creation of a generation of royalties. Then only that we call it as a successful research. What we in this now more than creates employment opportunities and wealth creation. So exploitation of IP is very, very important. So we all know that different forms of intellectual property, right? And no, all types of inventions, we can get both process patents as well as product patents. And similarly, trademarks or brands, is also another class of intellectual property rights. All the names what we see, the Tata, Bata, and Adidas, or all these vehicles, automobiles, they all have brands, all these brands are multi-billion dollar value, so these trademarks are also a kind of a intellectual property rights. Copyrights, particularly for academic institutions, copyrights plays very, very important role apart from patents. Copyright means whatever books we write, whatever papers we publish, all these things forms a part of the copyright. Similarly, designs are nothing but the physical appearance, the aesthetics of any product, is very, very important. I know the ergonomics comes into that. So the designs also is also one kind of a intellectual property rights. And all the plant varieties and seeds are covered into the Plant Variety Seed Act. Geographical indicators is another intellectual property rights, like our Tirupati Laddu and Darjeeling tea and Gubbilivina, and there are so many kinds of products or processes or handicrafts, which are specific to a particular region, that toys and all those things. Like that, there are forms a geographical indicators. Recently, Araku coffee also got the GI tag. So once we get a GI tag, it enhances the genuinity of the product, it enhances the marketing, it enhances the export potential also, because government has certified, has given a IP right as a GI to that product, and trade secret is another kind of a intellectual property right, and integrated circuits related to, all the computer chips and is also a separate class of IP. So these are all the 8 property rights. IPs are important for academic institutions or the universities, because if you are able to create IP in your institute, it improves the national and international rankings of universities, such as NIRF. You all know that the NIRF rankings, around 15 marks have been given, for patents. And of course, publications also, there are different marks. Now, the NIRF rankings next year, I think, is going to be more comprehensive, giving a lot of importance for innovation entrepreneurship activities. So all the innovation entrepreneurship activities again are linked to the IP. If you don't have an advantages to you through the IP in terms of getting the rights of intellectual property, you will not be able to commercialize it. I think most of you might be aware why one should go for IP. If you get an IP protection, the advantage is that you will get, as an inventor, you are the absolute owner of the technology or the product, for a period of 20 years. That is what the IP right is granted to any inventor by government. If you got a patent granted on your invention, that means you are the absolute owner of the technology for a period of 20 years. So no one can use the product, no one can use this process, no one can make that product, produce it, sell it, or even import without your permission. So once a patent is granted, means you are getting that exclusive monopolistic right. So with that right, either you can use your IP for the benefit of creating wealth, creating employment opportunities, or you can license it to others. So that is the biggest advantage. And apart from, because of that, people who created that kind of an IP also has been given importance in the national institutional ranking framework and NIRF. So this is also very, very important in the getting national as well as international rankings. If the institute, for example, IITs, they create or produce a lot of IPs, registered a lot of IPs. That is why they are also in the forefront. It is why IP and research and development, they are all interdependent. Wherever there is a strong research and development, there will be also large number of IPs are created there. And if you have got IPs created, there is a possibility that industries come and partner with you to further develop that IP, for commercialization purpose. And it also generates revenue to the institute which developed this IP. You could see many foreign universities, as I told you, they created class IP and they transferred it. Now, whatever, the multinationals we are seeing today, the Microsoft, the Apple, the Google, all these things are having roots, in the academic institutions. So by that way, you can generate revenue for the institutions. Even in R&D, if you have got patents, funding also, it is easy to get it. And in getting the government grants or funds, research project or even incubation centers, government is looking for higher education institute has filed. So that way you will be able to attract more investments into R&D if you got IPs created. A large number of patents, even the students, faculty members, they themselves can, exploit those IPs and establish startup companies, incubation support systems now available across the country. And it also enhances your university reputation and attract more talent, So it is a pride, once your patent is granted to a faculty member, a researcher, a student, it is a great pride because your invention has been evaluated across the globe for its novelty. Then they give patent. So your knowledge, your creation, your R&D outcome has been assessed across the globe and got a patent. Means, is it not a great pride and honor for the inventor? Definitely, it gives a great pride and honor to the inventor because your knowledge has been assessed across the globe. Then only they grant the patent. So it is a pride. The institute. So this is the process how we get a patent. Probably I think most of you are aware. But the point I would like to mention to you is, as I mentioned already to you, if you want to get a patent, for your process, new process or a new product, you should fulfill this criteria of novelty, inventive step, and industrial application. You should remember this. Whenever you want to go for a patent, you should be able to think whether my invention is meeting these three criteria or not. Novelty means even if there is a hairline difference between the existing knowledge and your knowledge, that can significantly reduce the cost or increase the utility, definitely it qualifies as a patent. It need not be 100% novel. Even there is a improvement on the existing technology, existing process, that qualifies for this novelty assessment or novelty criteria. And inventive step means there will be scientific advancement or reduction in the cost, by your process. Then it qualifies and meets that inventive step. Of course, industrial application. Whatever we develop, it should have an industrial application and societal use. These are the three basic criteria one should fulfill if they want to get a patent. It is very, very important for all the researchers to remember. So one more thing, the novelty is the most important thing. As I told you, the novelty destroying elements, you should be very clear in your mind. You should not publish first. As I told you, the moment you publish first and go for patent later, novelty is lost because already it has been in the public domain or public knowledge. So you will not get patent. So that's what prior claiming, prior public use, prior public knowledge. For example, traditional knowledge comes under this category, For example, our haldi or the turmeric or the neem, In India, we have been using these two products for different purposes since ages, maybe more than 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years, But somebody from US few years back filed a patent on the turmeric. Turmeric, when there are wounds or there are some problems on the skin, when we apply turmeric, it heals. For that property, for that purpose, somebody filed a patent in the US. Our former Director General of CS, Dr. Mashelkar, he said, no, one cannot grant a patent because as per the Patent Act of our country or as well as other countries, if that knowledge is already in the public, so we are opposed granting of that patent. Dr. Mashelkar has taken the leadership and fought in court and revoked or cancelled that patent, saying that this knowledge is already, haldi or the pasupu or turmeric, what we call, that has been in India in more than 5,000 years. He has shown evidence, and subsequently they have also developed a traditional digital library, TKD, traditional knowledge digital library. They develop all this kind of traditional knowledge, like haldi, neem. There are so many things in our Indian culture. We use them, in our day-to-day life. So if somebody files a patent on that, if the patent is granted, how it is going to impact us or us, As for Patent Act, once patent is granted, say, for example, for that person in India and US, we cannot use that turmeric in our day-to-day life. So, and once as that patent being allowed in the US, so India also. So that this is already in public use for so many years in India, for thousands of years. So based on all these experiences, the mantra what he gave to all of us is that patent, publish, and prosper. But don't try to alter this equation, bringing publication first, patent later. So the entire thing will be ruined, and you will become, So that is why the advantage of having a patent is that a big fish eating the small fish, the small fish eating the further small fish, and there is no IP protection exist. But whereas if you have the IP protection exist, the big company also cannot do anything because you have the powerful teeth of protection of your IP. You can always fight. You can always, you can always negotiate for mutual existence or survival. So, what these two big company CEOs said about IPR is that, the chairman of a Quaker company, what he said when he was addressing his people, he said, if this business was split up, I would give you the land, bricks, mortar, and I would take the brands, trademarks, I would fare better than you. That is the power of the intellectual property right. Brands, trademarks, patents, copyrights, they're all nothing but intellectual property rights or intangible assets, what we call. Similarly, if you see what president of Coca-Cola company said while addressing their staff, if each building, factory, office, car, truck owned could burn down in a moment, the company could get back to operational rebuilding and buying everything lost in 1 year due to the value and profit generated by its intellectual property, namely the income generated by its trademarks, franchisee contracts, patents, licenses, etc. So that is the power of intellectual property rights. And also if you look at the top companies in the world, also you name any top company, either it could be Google or Microsoft or or any company, knowledge-based economy company. In those companies, 90 to 95% of the company value lies in the intellectual property rights or intangible assets. In 1970s and before, a company value 80 to 90% of the company value used to be in the tangible assets like the land, the building, the inventory, the cash they are holding. The company value used to be determined based on such kind of a fixed assets or tangible assets. But now, during the 20th century and 21st century, if you look at, it's a total transformation. IP has given the fixed assets. Now the company used to be are in the intangible assets like patents. So this is the kind of a certificate you get. Government of India gives the certificate, the patent office, which indicates the patent number, the application number, the date of filing, the who is the patentee, then the title of the patent, or how long it is valid as per the Patent Act, all these things will be given. So this is a kind of a certificate, in my opinion, is one of the highest recognition for a scientist or a faculty member or research scholars if you got a patent. As I told you, once patent is granted, it is a monopolistic right for a certain period. It is granted by the government for disclosure of your invention. You have to fully describe your invention, disclose it in your patent application. The owners or his assignees, or it could be given, the patent can be given to the assignee. Means, for example, you are working in a college or you are working in a university, generally, as per the employment contract, whatever knowledge we create, as a part of our employment, the owner of that knowledge is the university or the college for which we are working. But we are the inventors. Without inventors, the university also cannot transfer this knowledge to anyone. We have that right, we have that ownership as an inventor. But the applicant will be the university. That's what we also call in the Patent Act language, we call them as assignees. It is for a period of limited period. It is a negative right. Why it is called negative right? Because it prevents others to use this knowledge without your permission. It is a territorial right. It is a statutory right. So territorial right means a patent is granted by Indian Patent Office, by Indian government. You get protection only in India, not in other countries. If you want the same kind of protection in other countries, you have to file your patent application in those countries. That is how this international patent filing or the PCT filing has come into existence. So you need to use different conventions and file to seek international protection in different countries. That is the process. The rights concerned, the most important right as a patentee you get is that it prevents others from making, using, offering for sale, selling, or importing infringing products into the country where the patent was granted. For example, a patent is granted to you in India, no one can do this. What are those things others cannot do? Because it prevents others from making that product or making that service or using it, offering for sale. No one can produce and sell it, or no one can also import the same kind of product. That is the power of patent. You get. These are some of the top institutions. I think this is the last year. Now there is a change in this. Of course, IITs, all of them put together, they are number one. At last year, Lovely Professional University, which was in the 10th place, now it is becoming second place. You can see how much effort and how much resources they have put in to rise from this level to second position in all India basis. Of course, this classification or this ranking is given based on the number of applications filed in the Indian Patent Office. So most of the institutions, are private institutions who have been spending a lot of resources and filing more applications. And also, you see, the institutions again, the NIRF ranking, of course, last year, 20, now I think 22 also has been now announced recently, but still IIT Madras appears to be or is always on the top continuously for the last 4 years or the 5 years as far as NIRF rankings are concerned, So they also file a lot of foreign patents as well as Indian patents. And in all the rankings like area rankings, NIRF rankings, they're always number one, followed by IAS is the next best. I think even recent NIRF rankings also, the same trend is being continued. IIT Delhi, IIT Mumbai, IIT Kharagpur, IIT Kanpur, IIT Gauhati, IIT Roorkee, all top institutions, all the world and premier institutions, IITs are only on the top because that is how they have emerged as institutions of excellence, because they focus more on research and development, and as a result, also a lot of patents they file in India and abroad. So there is a relation between patents and startups, because innovation is nothing but the patents, and putting those patents into use is the innovation process. Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Delhi are the top, or even the Telangana are the top 5 states who files large number of patents in our country. And also, if you see again this data before last year, not updated, but trend remains same. The top 10 startup states, if you look at Maharashtra, Karnataka, Delhi, are the top 3 states. Of course, IP promotes, the Make in India, Startup India, and also we have seen that recently how the IP of COVID helped all these multinationals to make billions or trillions of dollars, That is the power of intellectual property rights. And these are some of the simple examples I wanted to mention to you so that you will get inspired, to think in that. See, among all these things, I would like to give this Coca-Cola cap, when you open a Coca-Cola can, there will be a small metallic flap on the top, This flap, such a simple technology, was invented by somebody in UK, So he licensed this technology to Coca-Cola and many other companies. So every year, or every day, he was getting, 1/10 of a penny per can. If the can is opened, he gets 1/10 of a penny as a royalty. So accumulatively, he was getting around 1,48,000 UK pounds per day as a royalty for that such a simple invention what he has made. So that is, I think most of us have got a brain and capability to think and come out with such kind of a simple solution. It fulfills all the 3 criteria. Nowhere in the world such kind of a device was existing prior to he filed this patent application. Inventive step is also there because once the novelty is established, automatically that leads are also close to the inventive step, and industrial application. It fulfilled all the 3 criteria, and he got a patent, and he is getting around 150,000 UK pounds, per day as a royalty from such a simple invention what he has made. Okay, that's what. This is a flap what I shown you, the Coca-Cola can, the opening. Earlier olden days, so that was a problem. People used to open it with great difficulty. And if you look at, since we are in academics, what are the top 10 institutions in the world who are filing large number of patents is the University of California system, which files large number of patents. MIT, Harvard, Stanford, University of Texas, Caltech, Wisconsin, Singhia University, that is the only university in other than US. So that is why John Hopkins University of Michigan. That is why, US is a benchmark or a gold standard for the IPs and IP commercialization. So that is most of the universities are all innovation-driven universities. And one example I would like to give here is Harvard University, how many inventions disclosed, how many patents they filed, how many patents have been issued, how many 40-50%, you know.
Yes, sir.
Sir, you are not audible.
Hello, sir. Are you there, sir?
Yes, my sir is there, but not audible.
ಏನೇ ಮೇಡಮ್ಗೆ ಇನ್ಫ್ಲೂಯೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಬೇಕು ಚಂದ್ರಪ್ಪನ ಹತ್ರ ಹೇಳಿಸ್ಬೇಕು.
Good source. Very good source.
Sir, you are not audible, sir.
Administrator, please mute them. They're all enjoying their crosstalk. Okay, these are all the companies which took birth in the academic institutions, and ultimately they contribute, to the institutions to emerge as a centers of excellence or universities of excellence. That is how IP played an important role. I think I would like to stop it over here because the time we started a little bit late, and I hope I've given the gist or the flavor of how IP plays an important role in emerging the academic institutions, the higher education institutions as institutions of excellence. IP plays a very, very important role. Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Panda.
Thank you a lot,
Yes,
sir,
Shravan.
for your support, your encouragement,
Yes, sir.
informative content. We really appreciate, sir.
If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Now I request the participants to post their questions in the chat box. I request the participants to post their questions in the chat box, please. I request the participants to post their questions in the chat box. Sir, I think they have no questions, so can we wind up, sir?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I request the participants to fill the Google form link which has been posted in the chat box for the recertificate. And finally, I would like to conclude this session by thanking our director, Dr. S. Shambhu-Prasad, sir. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank our Vice President, Mr. Satish Mehta, sir. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank our Principal, sir, Dr. K. Satyanarayan, sir. Thank you, sir. Our Vice Principal, sir, Dr. G. Nadesh, sir. Thank you, sir. Now I would like to thank our resource person, Dr. H.Purushotham, sir, for sharing his valuable information and knowledge with us. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank our coordinator, Dr. Subodh Panda, sir. Thank you, sir. And finally, I would like to thank our faculty coordinators, faculty members, technical staff, management staff, student coordinators, students, and all the participants for making the session a wonderful one. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Participants are requested to join at 1:25 for afternoon session. So thank you, sir. Purushotham, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. But there was some initial technical issue. We'll have some time. Doesn't matter. We are learning.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then. Thank you. I will hang up.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Shravan, thank you, ma.
Thank you, sir.